I'm Rick Ufford Chase, and this is Newport Connects, a chance to go behind the scenes with Newport downtown development and find out kind of some of the detail about what's going on in the world that we're working in. This morning I have Chris D'Amato with me from North Country Career Center, and we're here to talk in particular about the history around the project that we're doing with the students of North Country in the Building Trades program to redevelop the site on the corner of East Main and Union Street, which is 23 East Main Street. So I'm going to ask Chris to tell us a little bit first about kind of how this program began a couple of years ago and how we got into the work together.
Sure. So in 2021, there was a legislation written. Mike Marcotte and a few other people got together and wanted to address a couple of things: construction, trades, instruction, and increasing the housing stock in Vermont. And they thought that it would be a good opportunity to provide funds for CTE centers, career and technical education centers, which North Country Career Center is one of. And there's 17 across the state. And building trades programs across the state can apply for a loan through a nonprofit to address the issues of blighted homes in the community or new construction. After that legislation was written, I wasn't at North Country at the time. I was in Canaan, and Gwen and I were asked to sit down and talk to the Community Loan Foundation, who holds the note for our loan. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to come up with like the rules around how this program will be rolled out and utilized in the state.
So I'll jump in there.
Sure.
Because we came in at about that time in the conversation as well. And the board president for Newport Downtown Development is Sarah Chadburn, who's a commercial lender up at Community National Bank. And so it was Sarah and myself sitting with, I think, you and Gwen in these conversations with the Vermont Community Loan Fund. And it was driving Sarah crazy because they were saying, let's figure this out together. Let's make up the terms of the note and how we do all of this. And Sarah was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, this is amazing, right? Like we're actually trying to work together with the state as partners to figure out the most effective way possible to enable this project to take place. Right.
And it's not often that the fox gets to write the rules of the hen house, right? We're borrowing money, and Sarah, being a banker, is thinking, well, we got to write the rules. But they came to us as like, how do we see this unfolding? And my experience at CTE at a couple different places in Vermont, particularly in Canaan, projects like this take a long time. And when you take a blighted home and use student education time to rehab it, it's going to take a while because there's a number of things. You don't know how many students you're going to have every year.
Right.
You don't know the skill level they're at. And as a teacher, Jeremy Bro is our building trades instructor. He has a certain curriculum that he has to follow. And the production that we're doing at 23 East Main has to fall in between our benchmarks that we have to hit with every student every year.
Right, so it's not like you can drop everything and dedicate a full-time student to this work.
Right.
6-7 hours a day. It doesn't work that way.
Right, and that's where Sarah was having a hard time. This is a construction loan that can take up to 7 years.
Right.
And if it's not done in 7 years, we can reapply. Right. And so the rules that we came up with, the guidelines, they're more, the line from Pirates of the Caribbean, or it's like they're not rules, they're more like guidelines.
Right.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
So these guidelines that we came up with include a soft timeline, a generous timeline, and the big part of it is students who work on this project outside of school hours will get paid. And so this summer we were able to employ 3 high school students and an adult student. We had one student who was connected to us through our relationship with Vermont Works for Women. And she did a program at North Country this last spring, and then wanted to work with us throughout the summer. And so she was working alongside the high school students through the summer.
So I'm going to back up for a moment
Yep.
and just describe kind of what the relationship between Newport Downtown Development and NCCC
Oh,
is
that was
too.
yeah.
So when Gwen Bailey Rowe, the director at NCCC, reached out to me initially, she said, we have this amazing opportunity to apply for this funding, basically a zero interest loan with a single payment at the end of the term, at the end of 7 years. But we really need a nonprofit partner to actually take the plunge and purchase take the loan and purchase the property and manage the financial kind of oversight of the project. And so our board thought this was a fabulous idea because Newport Downtown Development has as part of its mission workforce development, and we'd been looking for a meaningful way to do that. This property is located literally on the far corner of our Newport designated downtown. So it's right there across from Passumpsic Bank and across from East Side Restaurant. And so that's how we got into the conversation. So we actually took the note, negotiated the purchase price of the house, and then our only involvement is to kind of oversee and plan together with you primarily and Jeremy kind of what the next steps are each step of the way.
Right, and so far we've done a great job working together. And people may be seeing, this work in fits and starts where the governor came out here and we had a big opening and we took all the siding off, and then it stopped, and then now we're working on the roof, and now it's stopped. And part of that is the curriculum that Jeremy has to follow. Part of it's the school calendar, and the other part is permitting. Right.
Right.
The plan for that that lot is to put at least 2 buildings, possibly 3, to create 3 or 4 units of housing on that lot. And so right now we're waiting on some permitting. This winter we're going to be putting bids out for the earthwork to create a more level lot, and some foundation stuff. And we're gonna be putting that bid out in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's really coming finally. So.
Yeah, and once those bids go out and work starts, you're going to start seeing a lot more movement on that property.
Right, so to date, all the siding's gone, the roof has been secured, the interior of the house has been pretty much entirely gutted now. There's really nothing left on the interior. And the plan actually, once we move the earth around, is a new foundation, and to pick the house up, turn it a quarter turn so it's actually facing the lake, and set it back into the hillside a little bit, so that there's room to put another one beside it. And it will be lawn where the house is currently, allowing us, this is another interesting benefit, is to partner with the city to take a piece of that property and allow us to expand the intersection, which has always been a problematic intersection there, particularly for people who are coming south on Union, stopped at the light and wanting to turn left. And the goal is to create a wide enough intersection there for there to be 2 lanes of traffic as they sit and either go straight or take a left turn to go up the hill on East Main.
Right. Like right now, I don't ever know if I'm supposed to pull up next to the guy who's turning left, or I sometimes do if I'm in a hurry. Sometimes I'm impatient, but so that intersection will be a nicer intersection.
Yeah, the city just needs 3 or 4 feet, I think, to actually make that the kind of intersection it should be.
And it's a great opportunity to make those changes. Some of the retaining wall has been removed, and you can see around the corner a lot better.
So talk about for a moment, people who have been paying attention have noticed, I'm sure, that the barn is gone.
Barn's good,
right? So talk a little bit about kind of how learning happens for the students in a project where we really clearly needed professional help to come in with a crane and help us take the barn out of there.
Yeah, so career centers in general rely on industry partners all the time to really get that hands-on experience. We do have a vast work-based learning program at North Country Career Center where the majority of our students will at some point be at a dealership, be in the hospitals, be in classrooms, and be ride-alongs with the police, ride-alongs with game wardens. So, and in our building trades, when we come up against a project, where we need licensed professionals, we call people and they show up. And the community loves the building trades, loves the Career Center so much that they come all the time. You know, I don't know if if it was a pro bono work for the barn.
No, but it was a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
I mean, DeRocher cut us a real deal on that project, and it was an amazing thing to watch. And the students were there and participating in the whole project, right?
Right. They were there till 3.
Right.
They were there till 3, and then Jeremy, myself, and Tyler Judd, teaching assistant in building trades, we finished the last 3 walls. We brought it down. We thought let's let the students do it, but we thought, well, we've got the big muscle here, so let's go ahead and use the crane
and what's happening to the barn? Like, where'd it go?
So the barn is there's a couple pieces still on the property. Those walls would be disassembled. All of the timber and sheeting will be reused. There's a space at our land lab up on Upper Quarry Road that we're going to build a barn. So we're taking all of the walls apart and making stacks. You know, the 2x material goes in one spot and the sheeting goes in another. And this spring we hope to have our heavy equipment program dig a foundation and pour a slab, and that will start another project at the land lab.
That's so great.
Where our first year building trade students will get the basics of framing and the basic carpentry to put up a wall.
So it's not going to look like it looked on our property. It may be reconfigured, but it will be using a lot of the materials that we've salvaged from the old barn.
Absolutely. That barn's not going to cost the taxpayers the area any money, because it's just materials.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. What else do you want to mention? Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that this project is, I think we were the first ones in the state to do it, and that's a big deal, and that just goes to show how forward-thinking Gwen is in her directorship of the Career Center, and it's working. This is a piece of legislation that was working. And
yeah, this was like a $15 million set aside that the state legislature created, I think in the summer of 22. They passed this legislation saying we've got a little bit of a surplus and we really want to support CTEs.
Right.
So they tucked it away, and now I think there are a couple of others who have taken them up on it. But we were the first ones out of the box.
We were the first ones, and being part of the development of the guidelines was important. And they still call and say, how is it going?
Right.
And we're kind of they're building the airplane. We have some reporting things that we have to keep up with, that they came up with after the fact as well. So, right. But we're in compliance with the agreement, and it is a zero interest loan that a large chunk of it could be forgivable. So
like pieces, like if we pay students during the summertime,
right,
that actually will not be part of the loan that we're required to give back.
Right.
It can be forgiven in the loan.
Right.
So. And the other thing that folks should know is that the goal here is to create housing that remains affordable in the community. So there's a limit to how much the house can be sold for eventually, somewhere down the road. And we will place, this project in my mind could at least stretch a decade, because by the time, once we get this place done, we'll begin working on a new construction project, we hope, right beside it, and we'll just keep right on going. And the beauty of it is, it's a 5-minute walk from the high school.
It is really sweet to be able to just walk. If I ever need to step away from my desk, it's a nice place to go for a walk and still do my job, right? It is nice to see. The students really appreciate the opportunity to do live work. We were doing some live work before COVID, and then what I mean by live work is meaningful, not just building sheds and doghouses. Right. We want to build something that's lasting and impactful for the community.
And that they can look back on 20 years from now and say, I built that.
Right. Yeah. And, having been in the construction field myself, whenever I pass a building that I worked on, I pointed out to my kids too and say, hey, I helped do that,
right.
And there's, I didn't do it myself, right. Nobody ever does. But it is fun to go back and see the work that you've done.
Well, I'll just say, I can't say enough good about the work that NCC does, NCCC, I got to get enough C's in there, does in this community. When I did my first tour up there of the building itself where you all are operating, I was just blown away by the depth of programming that's offered and training that's offered to your students in this and so many other fields. So just a plug. We are thrilled. Newport Downtown Development is totally thrilled to be in this partnership with North Country Career Center.
Somehow there's people that show up at the Career Center still and say, I didn't know this was going on.
Right.
I don't know how that happens.
Well,
but
and
it
adults
does.
in the community can take advantage, right? You
Right.
have a lot to do with that. Can you just talk about that for a moment?
So my primary role as the assistant director is workforce development issues for adults in Vermont, in the area. So we have 13 programs open to our students, and adults in the area are eligible to take those classes during the school day, but they can't bump a high school student out of that class.
See.
So if there's openings, we call them friends and neighbors. One of our friends and neighbors can sit in that class. The unfortunate thing is the popular classes, welding and cosmetology, are always full, and there's a waiting list.
Right.
So adults who want to get into those, it makes it a little more difficult.
But there are other courses offered for them also?
Yes. So in addition to the 13 programs that we have on campus, myself and Seneca Smith, run a program called Workforce and Personal Development, which we offer classes very similar to the classes that we offer our high school students, but on a boiled down to exactly what you want. Right? There's we don't spend a lot of time with your reading and your writing.
Right.
If you want to be an LNA, we get you to be an LNA. If you want a CDL, we get you enrolled in the CDL. Right now, our welding class is more of a hobby class. You don't get a certificate from it. You don't get certified, but the skills you get can get you a job, or you know how to weld now. Our community, our conversational French class is very helpful for people in the hospitality industry, and we're working with Jay Peak to get that going.
That's great.
Get up there. We just started an EMT class working with Newport Ambulance. One night it's at our house, one night it's at the ambulance house. So we go back and forth. And then
Say a word about the NEK broadband.
Yeah, that was the next thing. We were approached by NEK Broadband to provide a training for telecommunications network construction. So the guys on the poles that put the internet, the glass fiber optic
cable, yeah.
On the poles, and splicing. So we have a splicing. It's a combination of splicing, bucket truck operations, and pole climbing class. It's actually we're going to. It's posted. The dates are posted right now on our website. We have a March class, end of March, and then we have a class end of April. So we're trying to get 2 classes done. The March class will be down in Barrie. NEK is now NEK-CV, so they have a big area down.
Yeah, they cover something like
71 towns.
Yeah.
So we're going to go down to Barrie, and they are going to learn how to be a fiber optic technician, construction technician by putting stuff on the poles and learning how to splice. Splicing, people see the black cable,
right?
But inside that black cable, there's 144,
tiny.
almost as small as your hair,
right?
And they're glass, and they have to be fused together. And so somebody's job is to sit in a van and take 144 times, fusing those together,
right?
And then testing them and making sure that all of them are fused correctly. So that's a career. Once this network is built, and NEK Broadband's they've got, I forget how many hundreds of miles of
2,800 miles.
2,800.
So the reason I know about this is because my wife actually works at NEK Broadband, and so I know a lot more about broadband than I used to.
I'm learning myself. So they have 2,800 miles of broadband to go, and once that network is built, the people that we train here in our towns can stay and be the folks who maintain that network. And that, you know, the contractors who come in from out of state, you know, are seeing these people trained here, and they know that they can rely on them to be here when they're gone. And having a high-paying job right here in the NEK is amazing.
Okay, you heard it here first. So I want to thank you, Chris, for the time this morning, and for all the work that y'all are doing, not just with us at 23 East Main Street, but you know, across the board, trying to give young people especially, but older adults as well, the opportunity to get training and stay in this area and get jobs that pay well is just a remarkable thing. So thank you.
It's really a fun job, and you know, at the Career Center, we have a very specific, you know, thing that we are doing, but we don't really care if our students ever turn a wrench or become nurses. What we produce, the best product that we produce at the Career Center is our neighbors, and that's what we're doing here.
There you go.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. We'll be back with Downtown Newport Connects sometime soon, and in the meantime, everybody stay warm.